Hello, Rest of Toasty here, and today I'm going to do a different type of video. We're not actually playing any games today, I'm just going to tell you a story of a D&D game that I played with my brother and a friend. Our friend was DMing one of their first experiences as a dungeon master. I played a rogue tiefling who looked a little bit something like this. We just made it in Picru, and I decided to go as feral as possible with the options that I had. And my brother played as a large shadow void bug that really only gave him the ability to hold a bunch of extra stuff. Didn't really change the game very much, but it looks pretty cool, as you can see. So our first course of action in this world was to rob and kill an old man in the game. Calm down, YouTube. From his house, we picked up a couple of books, a dead lizard, and a cat. From there, we proceeded to the market, where we basically drugged a harpy and stole everything she had. Mainly, we got some dragonberry powder, which will be important later. My brother dug a giant hole in the ground, and we slept there, in the middle of the street, and nobody thought to take us to the police or anything. But they did steal our shoes, in response to which I decided to steal somebody else's shoes directly off of their feet. DM friend was trying to teach us a lesson about sleeping in the middle of the street, and it backfired because I used a tire iron to steal somebody's shoes directly off of their feet. Not long after we woke up, we found a newspaper containing two articles that were important. One that related our crime the night before, and one that told us that there was a meeting happening in the town hall. A meeting between all of the most powerful leaders of cities. I guess you'd say mayors, but they weren't mayors. So we get there. I decide to eavesdrop on this meeting. My brother decides to have some fun elsewhere by stealing a whole bunch of stuff from the dining room and having his way with a harpy before eating the harpy. And while he's doing that, I am in the meeting room, hiding behind a desk. In the meeting, there are several different species and people and whatever. The most important characters are Onyx, a human, and Eric, a blue harpy. Eric, during the meeting, is incredibly nervous. Eric does not like Onyx at all. The meeting was called because there was spotted a group of bear demons, about 200, outside the city limits. Apparently there was also something about an antidote and a scientific breakthrough, but we never went through that storyline, so I don't actually know anything about that. But after the meeting was called and everyone started to head off, I came out of my hiding spot and started digging through their belongings. Started snooping around in that desk I was hiding behind. In the desk, I found some letters and some documents and an ink and quill, which I stole for some reason. Opening some of the letters, I discovered that Eric the Blue Harpy is a liar. I don't know what he was lying about. I don't remember. The notes literally just say, steals a letter opener and discovers that Blue Harpy is a lying bastard. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what he lied about. I don't know who he lied to. But we do know that he does not like Onyx, because the next thing that happened was he showed up at the window and at first immediately attempted to intimidate me, which did not work for obvious reasons. I mean, just look at it. There is not a care in the world behind those sunglasses. I call him on his bluff that he's been lying to everybody. He's confused for a moment, and the next thing I say is that I want to kill. In the game, YouTube. It's not real. So he starts to realize that he could maybe use me, which is what he thinks. So he gives me a mission to take out the pet rock, Onyx, that is. Like 60% sure Onyx is a type of rock. And he promises 1,500 gold if I do manage the hit. So the first thing I do, after the Blue Harpy leaves, is jump out the window, which I land perfectly fine because I'm a rogue and an acrobat. Then my brother pulls out the two books that he stole from the old man, just out of curiosity for fun. The book he opens is a spell book, which is really neat. The book I open is a mimic. It surprises me, it bites me, and I fail all of my death saves. So I'm gone. But it turns out that the spell book my brother had contained two different revive spells, or revive potions. So brother goes on a short quest to attain all of the resources needed, and revives me. After that, we angrily head to the Pet Rock's house, which is in the 6th Division, surrounded by forest, where everything, every building, every wall, every tower is made out of wood. So immediately as a tiefling, I see this and I think, this is gonna be a fun ride. Of course, the DM doesn't think about this because they haven't had to deal with it yet. They will learn. Nobody does anything to stop us, surprisingly enough, and we head straight to the large pagoda in the center, which is quite obviously the town center and the home of Onyx, the pet rock, and our target. I climb up to the top story of the house and through a window to Onyx's bedroom. We did a little bit of scouting first. I poke him because I just have to instigate a fight before it happens. He jumps up and he's immediately terrified. Obviously. It looks like he recognizes me for some reason, which is strange because I just washed up in this town like 2 nights ago. And in what I can only assume to be caused by sleep deprivation, the fact that he just woke up, the fact that I'm terrifying, I can only assume that because of that, all of that, when I tell him to kill himself, he actually tries. Of course, he fails and starts to get angry, anxiously yelling, screaming, "Who are you and why are you here?" I again ask him to kill himself. He again attempts and again fails. I mean, I guess that's a good thing. You wouldn't want to be good at killing yourself. So, it's good for him. It's bad for me. He doesn't understand what's happening. He's very confused. Says, "What are you doing to me?" I again tell him to kill himself. All 3 times, it worked, except he fails. He manages to not kill himself somehow. I guess he did attack himself and just didn't deal enough damage, so he has lost some health to it at least, which is good for us. And then he immediately rolls a nat 20 on attacking me, and I barely survive because luckily his damage roll was actually relatively low. My brother finally shows up after having stolen a rug for some reason, invades the mind of Onyx, and kind of takes a look into his dark backstory, the one that made him so traumatized. He sees a tall, blonde-haired, gray-eyed man, looking ever so slightly, somehow just a little bit, but definitely not at all like me, which may have partially caused his initial terror upon seeing my face in the dark, with horns, wearing a muzzle, because I look similar to the person who killed his love interest, as the other person my brother saw in Onyx's mind was a lady with short, dark brown hair, wearing a locket with a picture of Onyx in it, in an alleyway, dead at the feet of the blonde-haired man, whose name we do not know. My brother then decides to create an illusion of the woman coming up the stairs, asking, "What's going on? What's wrong?" Onyx, like a fool, gets distracted by the woman. Taking this chance, I shove the dragonberry powder into his eye sockets. Now, if you don't know, which you may not, dragonberry powder might just be a homebrew thing, I'm unaware. But if you don't know, dragonberry powder is essentially roided pepper spray. It's incredibly painful. So, Onyx now is in incredible pain, but he's still trying to force his eyes open to make sure that he can see his lost lover, given he has been awake for about a minute, so I guess it's a little understandable. My brother continues the illusion in Onyx's mind. It's not an external illusion, it's directly messing with his brain. Continuing the illusion, he fades the brown-haired woman away and produces the murderer's face, the blonde-haired guy. Onyx screams, "No, please, come back, don't go," something like that, something along those lines. And, my brother, sick as he is in the head, decides, you know, she is gonna come back, but, let's have her dead this time. So he brings back the dead face of Onyx's dead wife, girlfriend, love interest, whoever, I don't know. Sister, maybe? Onyx at this point is trembling with fear, anger, sadness, probably, desire, I don't know. He's trembling, for sure. And I, as a tiefling, still angry that he stabbed me, use Hellish Rebuke and set him on fire, which does quite a lot of damage. Yule, a tree something, I don't remember exactly what he was, but he's basically a tree. His name is Yulei. He comes in, confused, obviously, but immediately sets on fire because he failed his save, and also he's a tree. And there is fire in the entire room is on fire now, essentially. Because it's a city made of wood, for some reason. Foolish, as I said. So the entire room is on fire now. A tree guy comes in and asks, "Yo, what's going on?" My brother tries to deceive him and fails, gets attacked. I deceive him and succeed, though I just start with, "No, you're wrong, that's not what's going on, we're not attacking him." And he steps back for like a quarter of a second. My brother, angry, tries to attack the tree and fails. At which point I convince him that we are investigating the situation. We heard what was going on and we tried to come up and help. When we got here, he was just on fire. We don't know what's going on. They probably escaped out the window because the window's open from when I came in. And he believes me for some reason. While he is in his confusion, Onyx has been rolling death saves already. He failed his first two, succeeded on his third one, but obviously that's not enough yet. And just after I convinced Yulei that we are investigating the situation, Onyx fails his last death save and is killed. Watching this happen, my brother grabs me and we run away. But on our way out, I drop a container of oil. This oil obviously makes the fire ever stronger, burns down the whole building, and we rolled for it, by the way. It also jumps to every other house and burns down the entire city. There is a line in my notes here, essentially a terrible synopsis of what went down. A line in my notes after Onyx died, spills oil, burn the tower down. A couple lines later is just L, because honestly, we did L that whole city. And now it's gone. We burnt down an entire city with one singular hellish rebuke, and a tree, and an oil flask, and the fact that the entire city was made out of wood. So we tortured and killed one of our DM's favorite characters, burnt down his entire city with just a few spells, and by abusing a little bit of trauma. Moral of the story is, don't put hits out on your favorite characters, and don't build their cities out of wood, especially not if one of your player characters is a tiefling and has a built-in spell for setting things on fire. Big thanks to Dice Gremlin on YouTube for DMing and putting up with our crap, for making up the world, coming up with the characters, coming up with the story, and thanks as well to my brother Caio Graudaza on YouTube for some of the art in this video and allowing me to use his character in the story. If you enjoyed this little anecdote, this quick story, please do like and subscribe, share with your friends, go check out Dice Gremlin and Caio Graudaza's channels, and I will see you in the next video. But do remember, don't build your cities out of wood, because some crazies are going to come along, and it's really easy to burn buildings down if they're made out of wood.